Welcome back to the Brew Crew Podcast, everyone. This is day three of the BCP Barrel House collab, BCP BH collab, Advent calendar, day three. Day three. What a feat for Barrel House. We'll call it the Barrel House collab just because of the amazing feat that they did in putting together 20 calendars.
Indeed.
Thanks again to the Barrel House
for
making sure that you had 24 of 20 beers.
That's right.
That's a hard thing to do for a bottle shop like that.
Yeah, and all of them very different, very diverse. Enough for us to mix and match.
It's amazing.
They did an amazing job. They always do an amazing job.
Not only did they do an amazing job with the actual calendars, but they did an amazing job with the day.
Oh, the day was fantastic.
The day was amazing. Every day at Barrel House is amazing.
It is amazing, and they're great people. They're a lot of fun. They put you at ease. Their service is second to none. Their selection is always great. That was kind of a rhyme in time.
Second to none. I agree. Their service is second to none.
There is.
And they have a, now I don't know if you do this, you do it whenever. They have the options for tipping. 69% is one of them. So, choose that one because they're great. All right.
They are. They deserve it.
Today's beer, one we're obviously looking forward to. Don't crack it yet. 450 North. I mean, we gush about 450 North on this podcast. I've been to 450 North, the brewery. It's amazing. It's in Columbus, Indiana. We look forward to this brewery. We always talk about the few brewers who have a scale that is different than the rest of the breweries. 450 North is one that only gets rated against itself because you cannot rate their beers against other beers. It's just almost impossible. So I'm going to say let's roll it a little. This is a Slushy XXL. I can't be sure that there's sediment in here, but
likely.
The 450 North scale is for every additional X is additional viscosity. So so 2X, it goes up to 3. 3 is going to be like your smoothie sours.
Yep.
Your 2X's might have some fruit in there. Your 1X's are going to be like juice.
Yeah. They call it smoothie style sour ale.
Smoothie style sour ale.
So
it's
going
2X's.
to be thicker.
It's approaching that,
it's going to be thicker, yeah.
Now, it is a Slushy XXL and a smoothie style. So we're getting a lot here. This is boysenberry, plum, and raspberry. A lot of interesting flavors. It's called Excellent. It has what appears to be maybe the president. I'm not sure. It's a suit. A man in a suit in a large room, which could be like the Oval Office. It has like a real Simpsons vibe to it.
It does. But then again, the top of it is yellow. It almost could be the top of SpongeBob's head in a suit.
Or it could be a Simpsons character.
Could be
Mr. Burns. Maybe this is Mr. Burns' office. Excellent. Excellent. It is Mr. Burns.
Yeah.
Duh, idiot. Why am I so... Why does it take me longer to get to this than everyone else? I love The Simpsons. Mr. Burns is amazing. He's not amazing. He's a piece of shit, but his character's great.
I think I see Excellent, and when I saw this at Barrel House, I immediately thought of Wayne's World. Excellent.
Party time. Excellent. Yeah. But no. So it's Mr. Burns. It's Mr. Burns' office. I didn't know he had a fish tank on his desk. It's been a while since I've watched it.
Yeah.
All right, you ready? Let's crack this baby open. It's not primed. It's hard to get the fingernail under there, but here we go. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Perfect crack.
That was a perfect crack.
That was in sync. You'd think that there was only one crack, but there were two.
Yeah, there's two cracks in here. Just saying.
All right, now we're talking 450 North.
I've been
looking forward to this beer all day. Really
yeah.
interested in this beer.
By the way,
it's got a nice dark color.
It does. I have to say, 2 years ago, I wouldn't have blinked twice at this. I would have looked at it and gone, "Oh my God!"
You would have blinked once at it.
I would have blinked once at it and gone, "Nope," because it's fruit and it's a sour, and I would think, "I hate fruit sours." Yeah, and then John would say, "You're gonna love it. Drink it."
You're gonna love it. Drink it.
And I would drink it, and then I would go, "Damn."
If you're a wine connoisseur, I can't see how you wouldn't like a sour. A fruited sour. I know grapes are fruit. Grapes are different than all the other fruits we're seeing in these, and they're not so much sour as wines aren't so as sour as they are like. How would I describe the feeling of a wine on the
fruity,
palate?
silky?
No, not silky. I would describe it as like the actual feeling of drinking the the wine. It gives you that kind of like horseradish breath.
Oh.
You know how, not the smell of your breath, but it like what the sensation is.
Yeah.
It's not mint, but it gives you like that sinusy.
Yep.
Every time I drink wine anyway, I feel like my sinuses get involved.
Yeah, they do. They do.
Involved.
Yep.
Whereas beer, not so much. You get the part of your cheeks and jaw that get that
little
sensation.
Yeah, that little astringent
sour
feeling.
sensation.
Yeah. But you're right.
Yeah,
It's definitely, wine is definitely on the upper palate, the soft palate.
I'm sure there's silky wines, but I would need to be more
no, you're
more
right.
acclimated to the wine because I don't taste silkiness in wine. I think that the wine, I feel, and I know that you know this about me, but and this is not me criticizing wine drinkers. It's just the wine. I do not find wine to be an enjoyable beverage.
Oh my gosh.
I get it. I get the flavors. We've done this. We taste tested. Can I get past my hatred and taste the flavors? I think I can.
Oh.
I just don't find it enjoyable.
He says that.
Drinking a beer is enjoyable.
He says that. But when we've had wine together, it's amazing how his palate picks out the flavors.
I appreciate
and the
that.
esters.
Like I said, I think I can pick out the flavors, but
I think you.
I think it's that sensation that I just don't enjoy about wine.
I think
I'll try more.
I think the
We'll
more
try some more.
you try, the more you'll like it because you've already got the palate for it.
Let's try it.
It's just a matter of taste, and the taste is different.
Let's try some wines.
Let's do it.
All right.
Let's do
Stay
it.
tuned.
Stay tuned.
Let's talk about
More
this
to
though.
come.
This is not wine. This is a fruited sour, smoothie sour, slushy XXL
Yep.
from
And you can
450
see that.
North, Columbus, Indiana.
You can see that. It's very opaque. It's very cloudy and slushy.
A lot going on. A lot of legs.
Oh, yeah, there's a lot of legs. And
A lot of legs. And they're not even legs. They're just literally just staying on the side of the glass. The legs would imply that they're going down the glass. They're not. They're just staying right there. Look at that.
Yeah.
The bubbles just stay right there.
Yeah, I know.
Very, I would say that it has a very residual residue.
It does.
That'd be a good title for a podcast if we were naming this episode. Residual residue.
Residual residue.
The residue. It's residue more than legs.
Yep. And not too sour.
Not too sour.
This is a sour
I've noticed
that's right up my alley. This is like this is a solid single up the middle for me.
Yeah.
Possibly stretch into a double.
Really?
I like this, and like I
feel
said,
like you'd hit
2 years
maybe
ago,
further,
man.
a triple or a home run.
Man, I'm rounding second.
Like a single would be too sour for you, but delightful.
Yeah.
A home run is like perfect for your.
This is getting
for
there.
me. I've noticed 450 doesn't do sour like some other.
Yeah.
Like Urban Artifact. If you want sour, if you want that tingly feeling in your jaw, Urban Artifact is a good place to go. Rheingeist had a few sours that were in that domain, and 450 probably does have a few, but most of them are more in the. It's a sour beer because it's the Berliner Weiss style, but it's more fruited than it is sour.
Yeah.
Most of the time.
I would agree with that. And I didn't know Rheingeist ever had sours. I don't think I've ever had one.
Yeah,
of
they've
those.
made some sours.
Wow, they're a great brewery too. I love
Great
beers.
brewery. Rheingeist is great.
Oh man, this is great. I love this. I wouldn't have said that 2 years ago. John, you have single-handedly turned me on to sours, and I really like
I'm
them.
glad I did because it
good
gives us
ones.
something to talk about.
It does. I've had other ones. Urban Artifact. We have a lot of those sours. Branch and Bone, good sours.
Yeah, we don't spend. Oh, Branch and Bone's got some great sours. Branch
Yeah.
and Bone probably was the brewery that made me realize that you could make sours into an art until 450 North and all their smoothies. But yeah, Branch and Bone and Nowhere in particular really take it to the next level.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Nowhere in particular is a more just talking local breweries here for all those Wisconsinites watching this. Nowhere in particular is more. So Branch and Bone and Nowhere in particular are both artful with their sours. Nowhere in particular is going to give you like a little twist on comedy, maybe a little unseriousness about how serious they are about their beer. Whereas Branch and Bone is like all business.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing. It's not uncomfortable.
Oh no.
They're just like, we're naming it this science name, Spectral, whatever. And they're going to give you the best sour you've ever had in your life. Nowhere in particular is going to do the same thing, but they're going to call it Ecto Cooler.
Yeah.
You know?
And and by the way, you're at Branch and Bone. Once you have the first taste, you don't really care what the heck they called it. They can call it "So's Your Mom," and you'd be like, "This is the best damn."
You wouldn't even order it by its name. You just like, give me that beer.
Yeah, you don't even care whatever that is. Just give me that. So anyway, so thank you. I appreciate that. You've helped open up and widen my my palate. I appreciate that.
Yep. Hopefully I've done that to several beer styles, but this was the one that you were most resistant to. So
it was.
I'm glad.
It was.
I'm glad. All right, so let's talk about 450. So we're not here to talk about the local guys. We're here to talk about 450. Day 3 of the Advent calendar. Why don't you go first with your thoughts?
Love it. Definitely tastes like a smoothie. I was just talking to John and Katie about it. I'm going to be making smoothies tomorrow morning, actually. So, ironically, we got a smoothie style beer here. It's definitely smoothie-like. It's thicker. It's got definitely a texture and a viscosity to it that's a lot more hearty and robust. Nice, beautiful. Than a regular beer. And that's nice. That's nice. It's a great break and a good way to switch things up. It's got a great flavor to it. The fruit flavors in it are all things I love. Boysenberry, raspberry, plum. You can really taste the raspberry and the boysenberry too. Less about the plum, it's more subtle, but you can taste it all. And it's really good. And they blend well together, which is another characteristic fingerprint of 450 North. You don't get something that's out of whack or out of balance with 450 North in my experience. They all tend to be really super well balanced beers. Even the higher octane, higher alcohol beers that they make or whatever, they'll be balanced out with other things that'll help balance it so that you don't realize that, oh wow, this is really alcohol-y like some beers do, etc. They just like John said, they make a really solid
Definitely
beer.
not boozy.
No, it's not boozy at all. And I don't know what the percentage is on this.
I'll find it while you talk.
All right.
5.3.
5.3, so that's not bad anyway.
No.
But this is great. I really like this a lot. I didn't come today prepared to, break it down and talk about, the structure and all this stuff. Frankly, because I just don't know that much about sours. And the other reason was I looked at it this afternoon and I was thinking about it when I texted John about coming over, and I thought, heck with it. Slushies are supposed to be fun. We're just going to drink it and have fun and enjoy it for what it is. So,
well, what about those chuggalos who are tuning in specifically for Tech Talk with SFIL?
Tune in tomorrow.
Now, part of the sour. Correct me. I think you do know more. I think you're not giving yourself enough credit. You're being humble. But part of the fermentation process does use the sugars that are naturally in the fruits.
It does.
That are in the beer. So that's why you would put the fruit in the brewing process and not afterwards.
Yep.
Like we talked about the hops the other day.
Yep.
But what is happening with the Berliner Weiss style? Is there like a different yeast? Is it a different... Yeah. What makes it so distinctly different from IPAs, lagers?
The first thing about a Berliner Weiss that's different is that it's a Weiss beer, obviously. So it's wheat-based and not barley-based. So so that's a big difference right there. The grain is very different. It's a lighter grain.
The grain's different. Is it cooked?
Yeah. It is, but it's
not burned.
No, not at all. They don't use any. They don't roast it.
No roasting.
There's no roasting because it's wheat.
That makes sense.
So they just use it. Wheat has plenty of sugar in it itself. It's plenty capable of fermentation, as we all know, because we've all had Weiss beers.
And a wheat style beer would give you more of that light. Beige color, whereas the barley and malts give you a more darker.
That's right. Regular amber to darker kind of caramel color that I talked about last night. So it'll be a lighter base. When you throw fruit into it like this. That's going to kind of change the whole mix and the whole outcome of the equation. But the base of this. On a Weiss is the wheat beer, and it's a lighter beer. It's fresh. It's lighter to drink. It's not as heavy when you're drinking it.
Now, what happens to the yeast? Is it all used, or do they take it out? Because when you leave a sour in the can for a while, it does not continue to get stronger like a stout would.
That's right. Well,
so what happens to the yeast?
So what happens is the yeast will reach a maximum point during fermentation, and it's typically it'll peak in the primary fermentation. So the primary fermentation happens in the first week to week and a half, depending on the type of beer that you're brewing.
On the wheat?
Yeah, on the wheat too.
On the wheat.
Same
no,
thing.
like in the first week, are they also putting the fruit in?
Yes. Oh,
okay.
The fruit actually goes in the boil.
It goes in the whole time. Okay.
Yeah, so it goes in the whole time, and then they'll take it out. And I don't know. It's a good question though. They might actually throw some fruit into the primary fermenter to do what I talked about last night. I keep referring to last night, but I failed to upload my video last night. So sorry about that, but I will do that. So watch my day 2. I kind of talk about that process.
Oh, all right. Yeah, we definitely need that video.
Yeah. So I'm going to get it to John so he can
technical archives.
Yeah, we do. I've got some. By the way, I got some leave behinds too that I made for day 1 and for day 2. So I got a list of all the hops for day 1 and an explanation.
We need to put these in the notes of the video.
Yeah, so they're like my tasting notes.
Send them to me.
Yeah, I got like tasting notes, and I got those. So I wanted to upload those as well, so everybody has those.
Well, now that you're logged into the YouTube, you can go in and hit edit on our video.
Yep.
And paste it in the description below.
That's what I'm going to do.
So you expect in the description below some of the tasting notes, some of the technical details that SFIL has the leave behind.
Yep.
Whatever.
The
leave behind.
Just
archive.
Things that I thought might be of interest to some people. Some people maybe not. That's fine.
So that's interesting. So
the primary fermenter,
yeast, boom.
Yeah, so the yeast goes in
sugar.
After the boil's done. You're done boiling, which is really what most people call brewing, which is the boil part of it. It's about an hour, maybe longer sometimes. Mm-hmm. But that basically breaks down everything. It helps break down the like all the grains that are put in there, whether it's barley or sometimes oatmeal. Like last night, the stout had a bunch of different types of oatmeal in there. Which,
oh my God, I don't know how you got any of those flavors.
Yeah, it was
unbelievable.
Terrible. It was terrible. It was awful. But
so you looked that up?
Yeah, I saw it on there. I didn't taste oatmeal.
That was the most. I thought it was as similar to water as a stout's going to get.
It was. The afterburn was what killed me.
Oh really? I didn't really feel like that was too bad. I thought that was just too light.
It was burnt. So the finish is the most unpleasant finish that you could possibly put, which is it tastes like burnt. It tastes like burnt grain.
Well, we'll have that video. Let's get. Yeah.
Anyway,
I mean, I don't want to rehash the.
So anyway,
past. But I agree. I mean, it was.
You put the yeast in. You typically put a little starter sugar into a little
white sugar,
like a little not white sugar, but a little brewer sugar.
Brewer sugar. I didn't know there was a thing.
Yeah, there's brewer sugar. You put a little bit in as a starter. You put a little bit in there with a little bit of yeast as a starter, and you get that going for about a half day, maybe a day.
Excuse me.
And so that you're not starting just from scratch.
Yeah.
Which it takes longer. You want to brew quickly. You want it to ferment fairly quickly. So you put the starter in, which has already got the yeast going and multiplying and eating sugar, right? And then you put the rest of the yeast in, cover it all up, and the yeast goes nuts. And after about...
It goes crazy.
It goes nuts. It goes crazy. And after about day 3, day 4, it's peaking. And after that, it'll peak for a couple of days. You'll hear bubbling going on.
Oh.
And you'll see off-gassing. You have to put a little thing in the top. You want to make it airtight, but you put a little thing in the top that's got a little water in it, and the gas comes up and through it and out. And but it doesn't let any bacteria in. Anyway, you're doing that to let it off gas. Otherwise, the brewing vessel that you're fermenting it in will blow because it gets highly pressurized with all that gas going on.
You don't want that.
Nope, you don't want that. And then after that, after it dies way down, after about a week and a half, you'll see the yeast stop. And the yeast have stopped for a couple of reasons. First of all, they run out of sugar.
Yeah, it's expended all the sugar.
Yeah, it's eaten all the fermentable sugars. That's an important fact that we've talked about in past years, I think.
Yeah,
there are certain
fermentable sugars.
Yeah, there are certain sugars that will go in, like with this fruit. I'm sure there is unfermentable sugars in there.
Yeah, probably.
Because you can taste sweetness. And these guys...
Yeah, the sweetness comes from the sugar.
It comes from the sugars.
But I also think, just to sidestep that, and you'll probably address it in the future, I I think that they're adding some fruit later. Because the puree style that we're tasting here,
quite possible.
I don't think is happening in the before the boiling phase.
Quite possible. I would say that's quite probable.
Yeah.
Even though, like I said, I don't know that much about these because I haven't really.
Like maybe they have like a base sour.
Yeah.
Because 450 only makes really sours.
Yeah.
Maybe they have like a base sour. I mean, this is just a hypothetical, and then they just like fruit it differently.
Could very well be, and I'll have to.
Now, milk sugar is not fermentable. Is that true?
Some of it is. Some of it's not. If it's not fermentable at all, it would be very sugary. It would be very, very, very sweet. But it's not. It's more sweet than average, but also some of that milk sugar actually gets fermented and gives it this kind of creamy flavor and stuff like that.
But when you add milk sugar too, so I know we're getting there. I don't want to keep cutting you off.
That's all right.
But I got a lot of questions now. So when you put milk sugar in a stout, so let me guess that what's happening is in a stout, there's yeast remaining and it continues to ferment over a long period of time. But when you put milk sugar in a stout, you can still taste it a year later. So it's not like the sweetness is there. So it must be unfermentable, right?
Yeah.
And the same thing, and so in that regard, in the stout, is it just that there's active yeast left, active sugars left,
yes.
and the yeast and the sugars can go wild for a year?
Yep.
But in a sour, you were getting there, I'm sure.
Yep. Same thing.
After the primary fermentation.
Yep.
Then?
After the primary fermentation, you rack the beer off, which basically is a process of not straining, but really siphoning the beer, because there's a bunch of sludge at the bottom, and that sludge is really gross looking. It looks it's kind of greenish gray.
Okay.
It looks like a big giant pile of boogers.
Oh, nice.
It's spent yeast.
Spent yeast.
Yeah, and it's amazing because you put a little thing of yeast this big in there, and it ends up filling the bottom of if you're a home brewer, like a 5-gallon, food grade pail. It'll fill this much up with spent yeast because that's how much it's multiplied.
Wow, dang.
Now, if you want to rack that off and you want to put it in a fresh container, right? And then what you do is you cover that and you let it set for another week, maybe 2 weeks, maybe more, depending on what the beer is that you're making, etc., and let the fermentation process keep going. And it's going to keep going, but it's not going to be as active and bubbly and all that stuff as it was. And part of that secondary fermentation is the part that makes all the different flavor. Like if you tasted it right out of the primary fermenter, whether that's a barrel or whatever it is, it'll be rough. You won't have that nice blended integrated flavor together. You'll taste a lot of different things. You'll taste, what is the beer, what's the start of what the beer is going to taste like, but it won't be all integrated. And then the secondary fermenter is what starts that process of blending it all together, finishes up further breakdown of some of the sugars that are harder to ferment but are still fermentable. It'll keep going on those. And then at the end of the secondary fermentation, again, you'll have another, sludge at the bottom, much smaller, but a sludge nonetheless. You'll rack that off again, and then you'll either go directly to a bottle or you'll put it in a keg. And after that point, you're likely to see sediment fall out of that still, and some of that sediment is more yeast yet, because the yeast will be floating around in there.
Yeah.
And the yeast doesn't die. So the only way that yeast dies is if the alcohol content, like in a barley wine, for example, when the alcohol content goes over about 14% or so, it could be a little bit less, could be a little bit more, but right around 14%, the alcohol content will kill the yeast off. Wow. So it'll stop fermentation. So that's why wine yeast. That's
interesting.
Yeah. So wine yeast, same way. So
is there like a beast yeast that can ferment any sugar? Like if you put marshmallow sugar, milk sugar and stuff into a beer, and there's just a yeast that's just like, hell yeah, this is mine. I'm gonna ferment the shit out of this.
I don't know what the tolerance level is for the most tolerant yeast, but it probably won't be over 20%. So that's why you see alcohol products like spirits, they have to be distilled. They're not fermented anymore. They're distilled because you can't put yeast in there and make a 50-50 vodka or something, Yeast just won't go that high.
Interesting.
So
you came unprepared and just explained the entire encyclopedia of brewing.
I just described the brewing process.
It was amazing. That was a really good explanation. I learned like an enormous amount of stuff just now.
Well, after you put it in the bottle or in the barrel, believe it or not, after all those weeks of primary, secondary fermentation, all that stuff, it's still going to ferment in the bottle, which is fun. I used to love doing that.
Yeah.
I used to, brew more. My outcome was more in the bottle than it was in a barrel or in a keg or something like that, because I really enjoyed, checking it and seeing how much sediment had settled out, which is an indication of how much more fermentation is going.
Oh, there you go. So yesterday we had a beer that was a saison, and the sediment was insane.
Yeah.
But I don't know, it wasn't that strong.
Yeah. But you can tell, like, there's a lot in there that's settling out. Some of it will be yeast, and some of it will be other byproducts, like the stuff I talked about in the video last night, which you will hopefully see.
You will see.
There are also proteins that make. Well, this actually was on. Yeah, this was. No, this was day 2.
Well, some proteins on the first.
Yeah, some proteins that make things cloudy are called trub, and those will also settle out over time.
Interesting.
So, yeah.
Well, there we go. We've got a really good technical background now, and that was amazing.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think that was great. I appreciate it.
No worries.
I don't want to cut you off. You got more to say. Go ahead.
Just one more thing. Believe it or not, there's still yeast that are alive in that bottle of beer. That you're
sour.
Or sour or beer.
Any beer.
Any beer.
Any beer.
Unless the beer is pasteurized, which we, us chuggalos never like to drink pasteurized beer because it tastes like, it tastes like there's something missing out of it.
Well, so someone had told Matt that the Bourbon County Barrel Stout, or bourbon, from Goose Island has been pasteurized since 2019. And I, when we went to Arrow, no, you weren't with me, were you?
No, I don't.
No. Oh man, you should have went with me. That was awesome. We went to Arrow on Black Friday. No offense to Barrel House, I would have went to Barrel House, but I live near Arrow, and I went to Arrow. And the gentleman there, he was flabbergasted at the idea that you wouldn't cellar BCBS, Bourbon County Barrel Stout. Goose Island's trademark annual stout release. Because I'm gonna have to just look this up and just settle it. The pasteurization. So Matt had been told by somebody that they pasteurize it. It's no longer worth cellaring. Drink it right away.
There's nothing. The whole point of pasteurization, which when they started pasteurizing milk, same thing, right? The whole point of pasteurization is to raise the temperature of whatever it is you're pasteurizing to the point where it kills all the bacteria, but it's going to kill everything else in there too. It's going to kill the yeast. It's going to kill everything else that's beautiful, and fermentable.
That makes
sense.
So
why would you lay it down?
So we got to look this up. We got to figure this out. If they're pasteurizing that beer, then Goose Island's out. I'm not going to go on Black Friday anymore for this fucking beer. Because why would you? Now, enough is enough about the non-450 North beers.
Yeah.
We are where we are.
Yep.
Let's talk about this beer. Tell me what you're tasting.
Oh my gosh, it's beautiful. It's just beautiful. It's just an explosion of fruit. Berries, really.
Berries.
And, it's of all the fruits, I love all the fruits, but the berries are my favorites. I always go to that when I'm getting a smoothie myself or a fruit juice of some sort. I love berries, and this is just an explosion of flavor in your mouth of berries. It's just wonderful, yummy berry goodness. I love it. I've said this for a long time, and I don't mean any disrespect by any means. It's just my own personal perspective. These don't taste like beer to me at all.
Yeah.
But they're extremely enjoyable.
They're their own thing.
They're their own thing. They're exactly their own thing.
It's like having a Dairy Queen.
Yeah, exactly.
For dinner.
They're fermented. They're a sour ale, so they used ale yeast, which is top fermenting yeast. All ale yeasts are, and they do their thing just as I described and explained. So now I've done the yeast
podcast.
Yeah, now I've done the yeast thing. I don't need to do the yeast one in the future. So
we can do top and bottom fermenting yeast.
We can.
Which is ale and lager, right?
Lagering is the bottom level. Yeah,
lagering is the bottom. So we'll do that some other time.
Yeah,
not today. We've gone long enough.
We got lagers.
But you taste a lot of fruit, a lot of berries.
Yep, a lot of berries.
What else? You got any other notes?
Well balanced sweetness to tartness. which I personally love. I like it when it's balanced like that. It's sweet, but it's tart, but it's not overly tart, and it's not out of balance. And same with the sweetness side. So that's all good. The alcohol level is not unforgiving or ridiculous or obnoxious. It kind of sits down in there a little bit. I really can hardly even taste the alcohol when I'm on the finish, which is normally the time when you taste it the most. And I'm not really tasting it there either. So what I'm tasting is just all fruity goodness all the way through and all the way down, which I'm really enjoying a lot. So I really enjoy this beer a lot. It's got a definite body to it. It's got a character to it. There's something firm, almost. It's almost like a food, like a smoothie is, versus just a drink, And I really like that a lot. So this one's going to get high marks for me.
All right. Well, we'll get to that score here in a second. Here's what I have on this beer. I think that it is plummy, somewhat plummy, and when you taste the plum, man, there's nothing better. I think there's so many good fruits out there, but biting into a nice juicy plum, holy shit, man!
You like plums?
Isn't that amazing?
I do love plums.
It's just like when it's dripping and you can't even control it.
Oh yeah,
it's just awesome.
In the summertime,
just
when they're
love
ripe.
plums. Plums are fucking awesome. Love them. There's something about the plum that can't be recreated in a beer, and I think it is that bite into a plum, the juiciness, the slurp, because you can't control how juicy, like a really good plum.
Yep.
Same thing happens with like a really good peach, Georgia peach.
Yep.
You get a lot of that, and you just can't recreate that. And we saw like the peach Busch Lights. I mean, it's night and day. It doesn't. Like the Busch Light apples, they resonate because they bring you to orange or apple juice.
Yep.
The peach ones are just like, what the fuck is this chemical shit?
Yeah.
But so in that regard, like, I think that when you think about plum drinks, you think it's got this. What it kind of does is it kind of like. I don't really know how to describe it other than using like data. You have a graph. You could have a graph that has like a sharp decline and then a slow, like a sharp decline on the x-axis and then a slow x-axis decline for the rest of the way. But what plum will do is it'll round out, kind of parabolize. Is that a word?
Oh.
It'll kind of
parabolize. Well, you're the data scientist. If you say it's a word, that's a real it's thing. A word.
It'll kind of parabolize the sharpness of that. Taste. It says like you can have like a sharp beer, a sharp fruit, but you could also have this nice smooth kind of. It's just there's no other way for me to describe this flavor, and you guys are gonna think I'm on mushrooms. It's like a rounded flavor. It just rounds off all of the other things that are happening here because there is a carbonation, and the carbonation, what that reminds me of is high school punch. The punch bowl at your high school homecoming dance that someone pours Sierra Mist or Sprite into, 7-Up, but it's actually just Hawaiian Punch with carbonation because it's got like a small bubble feel to the carbonation.
Yeah, it is.
Very, very tiny bubble feel. It's almost just for the back of the palate, and that's it. Like, the soda carbonation would be more front of the palate, like full tongue kind of carbonation. Yeah. This is just like, oh, you're at a high school dance. The boysenberry, I mean, I'll be honest with you, I've had boysenberry syrup at IHOP like a dozen times. I've had, I don't think I've ever had a boysenberry. I don't even know what it looks like. Okay, it's there. The raspberry is where you'd probably get that like distinct flavor, that distinct berry flavor. It has like the pie, what is that pie?
Razzleberry.
Razzleberry has a very razzleberry pie distinctness to it, and what the plum does is it comes in and it's like, nope.
Yep.
Like you're not pie, you're beer. Get real, raspberry, you motherfucker. It's like talking shit. Raspberry's like, damn, like it has no defense. Raspberry's just cut off.
Raspberry's like, Plum, get out of my way. I'm the star of the show here.
Yeah.
And Plum's like,
So that's what I think the plum's doing here. And now this color, it's got to come from the boysenberry. Because
boysenberry.
The plum is going to give... Well, maybe the plum peel will give you a purple, but the plum flesh will be yellow, orange, right?
Yeah.
And then the raspberry is going to be more vibrant.
Yeah.
Whereas this, I think what's happening is you mix them together, you get like this color.
Yeah, you get this
There's
purple.
definitely puree. So they're not lying.
Puree. I love that. A puree. And what I was just when you were talking about that, I was thinking two things. First of all, you're absolutely right on the plum. There's no sharp corners at all.
No sharp corners. It's a very
it's
smooth flavor. Yeah.
Very plum. And the more I drink this, the more plum is coming out.
Yeah,
from
right.
it.
It is.
It is.
The only thing I wish it could replicate is that juiciness of a plum. Maybe thin this out.
Yeah.
Keep that plum flavor, thin it out.
Yeah.
That would be pretty good.
What I'm thinking is, the second thing I'm thinking is, this isn't really a smoothie. It's thinner than a smoothie, but it's
thinner than a smoothie.
But it's thick. But you know what it reminds me of?
It's not, though.
I thought of exactly what it reminds me of. Do you remember? I think they still sell them. I haven't had one of these for years. You know those cans that look like sodas, and they're kerns, and they're like guava nectar, mango nectar,
kerns is,
all the different guava nectar, and all these different like passion fruit and all these crazy like tropical fruit nectars. They're thick like this.
You know what this actually reminds me of separately? I think that's probably apt.
That's what it reminds me of. So let me know, Chuggalos, in the notes, what you guys think of that. They remind me of a Kern's nectar.
What this reminds me of is if you let your tropical smoothie melt. Because tropical smoothie comes like in smoothie form. But if you, like me, I'll get in meetings and I'll forget I had it. Yeah. And then like an hour later I'll drink. And that bottom part is what goes first. There's still ice on the top.
Yeah.
But the bottom part, you take that sip from the straw and it's just like liquid, but thick liquid. That's what this reminds me of. Kind of that melted smoothie. Yeah. So there's the pureness.
Pureness.
Another great episode title, pureness.
Pureness. That's perfect for this.
Pureness.
Pureness.
This is pureness. To it, the plum smooths it out. There's nothing sharp about this beer.
I can't wait to hear Matt's.
I don't even know if we'll get this far into the episode. Let's be honest. You gotta watch them every day. There's a lot of episodes. But if you are watching it all the way this far in, thank you so much.
Thank you.
What an awesome thing.
Yeah,
to do.
it is.
But yeah, it smells so good. It smells fruity.
Amazing.
It's just not. It doesn't have a sour profile to it. It doesn't have a beer profile to it. I know there's alcohol in there, but I'm probably not going to get. Like, I'm not using this to get hammered. I'm not going to have this as a party beer. It's going to fill you up. It's going to be kind of intrusive on your evening.
No.
But boy, oh boy, does 450 North know how to make beer.
Oh, that's great.
They're just so good at it.
That's just terrific. It's just wonderful.
No booze flavor at all.
Nope.
I like it. It's not their best beer, but I like it a lot.
It's pretty damn good.
Where are you at?
I'm
scored up.
Oh.
Don't change your score because I said it's not their best beer. It is their best beer. If I said it was their best beer, what would you score?
It wouldn't have mattered what you said.
Good. That's the right answer.
I'll tell you where I first went. My first gut reaction was that it's a 5.0, and but I hesitate on actually following through with that rating because, gosh, it's what, day 3? It's day 3. I can't give
day
something.
3. Yeah. Well,
how can I give something a 5.0?
You want, dude.
But so
if you like it that much, give it a 5.
I love it, and it's one of the best beers I've had this year for sure.
Ooh.
And certainly it's the best beer we've had so far in this advent calendar, in my opinion. Although I like that first one a lot, but this is a great beer. Would I drink it again? Hell yes. Would I buy it again? Every day and twice on Sunday.
Ooh.
It's well over 4. I gotta say 4.75. That's a 4.75.
4.75. Yep. That's an excellent score. I am coming in at a 4.0 only because, as I described before, and this is not something I expect you to follow because it's hard to. 450 we kind of judge on its own scale. We know that there's 5s. We've had like Taco Party is a 5, and I love this beer. I mean, I would if you put this beer against probably 98% of what's in my fridge right now, I'm always going to choose this. You know, they do that thing where it's like, if you're trying to do spring cleaning, you're like, do I choose this or this? And then you get whatever you would choose, you get rid of the one, then now bring the new one in, this or this. I do that with beer a lot, and I would choose this 98% of the time. However, if you have all 450 North beers lined up, this one probably falls a little lower than their best. The plum's great. I think if you're going to do plum, lighten it up. I would like to see what 450 North could do when they do deliver a traditional sour beer, a non-smoothie. Like, give me a plum sour that has like an ale color to it. No, not,
But with real plum.
Oh, with real plum,
yeah,
obviously, real plum. I want to see. Stretch your legs a little bit, 450. Let's see what you can do. I want to see it. That's a challenge, and I bet it's going to be amazing.
Oh man.
4.0 for me, 4.75 for you.
4.75.
Amazing episode. Lots of content here. If you're trying to learn about beer, you joined the right Advent calendar day.
Stick with us. It's been 3 for 3 now. I wasn't planning on that.
Hey, man. Well, we'll shorten. Some of these will be short because we'll just be like in a rush, or we'll just be kind of burned out. I mean, 24 days in a row is hard to do.
Yeah.
But we'll get back on it. Well, ebbs and flows, peaks and valleys.
My episode yesterday was very short for me. It was 13 minutes. Which is short for me. Everyone who knows me, especially John, knows that. But it was just
13 minutes is good for you talking to yourself.
Yeah, well, it was the beer too. So I won't.
I can't talk to myself for 13 minutes straight.
Yeah,
I try. Doesn't work out. I just wind up sitting in
Oh,
silence.
I'm talking to somebody. They're just not there in the room.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's true. We're talking to you, the Chuggalo.
That's true. Our favorite people.
Yeah.
My fellow Chuggalos.
Well, that's it. That's day 3 of the Advent calendar. Thanks for joining us. Join us again tomorrow when we do day 4. And then the next day after that for day 5. And every day after that until Christmas Eve.
That's right. Especially day 17?
14.
14. Thank you.
Day 14. We actually got to work out the time on that.
Yep.
We're going to have our yearly Carriage House extravaganza, which I look forward to every year.
It's the most fun.
Love it.
The Advent calendar month is the most fun month of the year, and the day we get together in the Carriage House bar with all the Chuggalos, everyone's invited to come. That's the peak day of the peak month of the year.
It is the peak.
So yeah, we're going to enjoy it. And we're going to have some great stuff lined up.
It's going to be awesome. Day 14, that is what that's going to be, and I'm going to have a lot on my plate because I actually think I want to do some editing on that. Maybe have a multi-camera thing going on.
Yeah.
But because it's daily, I have to get it out that day.
Ooh.
So it's going to be tough, but we'll see what happens. I don't want to do a one-camera thing. I want to do multi-camera.
You can do it.
That'll be fun.
You can do it.
I need your help because you know more about that stuff than I do. Anyway, that's day 3.
Day 3
Thanks for
in the
joining
can,
us.
so to speak.
Yeah, see you tomorrow.
I'll be here all week.